welcome to another edition of the Women's Rugby Pod. I'm Johnnie Hammond.
And I'm Rachael Burford.
And we are mid-Six Nations, aren't we? Almost nearing that sort of middle point of the Six Nations. It has been a blast so far across the board from lots of different angles. Great to have you on, Burf. Busy old lady. How's things? How's your Frankenstein finger? I think that's the main question.
Yeah, apologies for not being around last week. Spent half of it in the hospital for a little pinky, would you believe it or not. It's fine. It's quite an interesting one, piercing the skin with your joint. Not a normal one, a bit of a freak accident, but it's so much better now. Scars healing, stitches out soon, and then, yeah, I think crack back on, strap it up, get back out there.
Yeah, go on then, how did you do it?
So I was catching a ball, but I had a ball in my hand. Basically, at the end of training, I had a ball in my hand, and a forward kicked it. So I blamed the forward, and I didn't think I was going to get to it. So I just turned to catch it behind my back, really relaxed and chilled, and then it just caught, and I had another ball in my hand with the hand I was trying to catch it with. I wasn't even trying to catch it, and then it just caught the end of my little finger, and then I looked down and I was like, oh dear, I need to get to hospital, and that was it.
Oh yeah, and if you're faint-hearted, don't look at her Instagram story on that one, because it's very graphic. But yeah, blaming the forward, I like that. A typical back. In fact, you're showing off carrying balls and catching balls behind your back is neither here nor there, I suppose.
Well, what are they doing kicking it?
Well, yeah, you wouldn't say it to their faces, would you? That's the bottom line here. Who was it? Come on.
I actually can't. I don't know. Can't remember.
Nice. Look at that. What a captain. Protecting our teammates. Look, but we've got a brilliant show ahead, and we're going to look back at round 2. We're going to look ahead at a really interesting round 3 as well. All the talking points in and around those 2 rounds. In the company of Poppy Cleall, Red Roses superstar, and Ffion Lewis as well. The lady who scored that cracking try to seal Wales' victory last weekend. She's even got farm animals named after her now as well. Have you got any farm animals named after you, Burf? No?
I don't know if that's a good thing.
Well, I can think of a few animals that would suit. Anyway,
Here we go, shots fired.
There we go, all coming up on the Women's Rugby Pod this week. So then, Burf, let's just go through the details then. Round 2, France put 40 points to Ireland's 5, at least owners Valent in Toulouse, Charles Roland, 2 from Saint-Sus, Florani, Joel Boulard and Higgins for Ireland. Wales beat Scotland 24-19 at the Cardiff Arms Park. Tries for Karis Phillips, Sean Harries, Hannah Jones, and then that try from Ffion Lewis in the 75th minute. Try for Lana Skeldon and 2 for Rona Lloyd for Scotland. I didn't score until the 41st minute. England were over in Parma and thumped Italy 74-0. 11 tries, hat-trick for Lydia Thompson, 2 for Sarah McKenna. Mark Davis got on the score sheet, as did Shauna Brown, Alex Matthews, Vicky Fleetwood, Sarah Byrne, Emma Singh and Dame Scarrett herself. Thompson now 41 tries and 51 caps. Unbelievable strike rate. So this, round 3. This is how we are lining up. Saturday, 4:45 Kingsholm. England hosts Wales. Nearing 13,000 sold. And I wouldn't bet that might just push up a little bit as well, especially if the sunshine continues. Sunday, 1 o'clock, Scotland faces France from Scotstoun in Glasgow. And at 5 o'clock at Musgrove Park, Cork in Ireland. Italy are the visitors. But we're going to look at this pod, Burf, in kind of 2 sections. We're going to look back for this first part and then look forward in the second part with a little bit of news sandwiched in between. But let's have a little look back at Italy, England, and also a little brief look forward with Poppy Cleall. I caught up with Poppy earlier on. It is a very, very warm good evening to Poppy Cleall. How are you, Poppy?
Hello, I'm good. We just arrived in Gloucester this morning, and we drove in. So it's good to get here and prepare for a home game.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple on the away bus at the beginning of this Six Nations. Just got to admire the jumper, though. For those of you listening, we've got a full Highland Terrier, I believe, or a Caesar dog, as people might know, and Paul marks up the sleeve. I need to get one of those for Vizslas. That's my breed.
I actually purchased this in Edinburgh on the away trip recently.
The Edinburgh Wool Mill or something like that. Is it full fine Scottish wool?
No, this is just a charity shop.
Other end of the scale, okay. Other end of Princess Street, understood. Great stuff. How are you? How's camp? I would have thought reasonably happy place after the opening couple of rounds.
Yeah, obviously we've been in camp now a long time, and we've travelled, like I said before, the 2 away games, a tricky place to open up the campaign, but yeah, it's good spirit in camp, and we're keeping each other going. And like I said, this home game, we're all looking forward to it so much. The way that Gloucester have advertised it, and the RFU, and the crowd's going to be insane. I think there's only not many standing tickets left, so hoping it could maybe potentially become a sellout.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, open up new areas with sort of knocking 14,000 now, which would certainly be a record for Rose's game. Are you, and I'm sort of sensing in what you're saying there, and it's a question I've asked a few guests over the last couple of weeks. From us, whatever adjective you want to use, media types, in front of the media types, very much understandable, a swelling of enthusiasm towards the women game. Are you guys feeling that? Because camp is, I popped in last week to Bisham Abbey, and you get a sense that you're in touch with the public, but not hugely. Do you get a sense of this? I mean, it's just overwhelming at the moment, the amount of attention on this tournament.
Yeah, I think obviously with TikTok and everyone coming on board, and the fact that there's so much great content out there right now, yeah, we can feel it growing, and momentum getting behind the game, for this year being a World Cup year. But when you're in like the moment, not really. It's no different to any Six Nations before. To me, the Six Nations is so special anyway. It's what I grew up watching, and it's like an awesome tournament to be a part of. So, when you're in it, it's just like, sort of like head down, tunnel vision, concentrating on the games, because you've got a job to do, and that's not sort of in the media. You're paid to play rugby, and just get your head down and get on with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, opening 2 victories, 74-0 last week against Italy on the road. A place which has been a sticky place to go visit for England teams over the last few years. How long was the list of things we need to do better on the whiteboard come Monday morning?
Yeah, there's still a lot. There's always a lot. Mids, when you reflect on it, he said that some of the stuff we did, like our tempo and intensity was good, but just other things, we weren't very clinical in some of the areas. Some of the passes didn't stick, and still things to work on in D. Like you said, Italy's sometimes been a tricky place to go. I remember I think it was my second cap going away to Italy, and they scored off the kickoff, and I remember thinking, oh my goodness, we're going to be in. And then I remember the game at the Stoop where Katie got red carded, I got yellow carded, and we went down to 13 players in that game. It was a very nervous time. So they've been tricky team to play against, and to go away there and play with the tempo and intensity we managed to do. And I think it was like 70% possession and territory. I think it's it's a credit to the players out there and the hard work we've done recently.
If we look at the 0 rather than the 74, you know what I mean, it seems like you're utterly suffocating Italy. Didn't allow them to play any sort of rugby at all. And actually, before that, in France, they actually turned up and played some reasonably decent stuff in patches. Was that a real focus going to that game? And therefore, you take that into the Wales game this weekend?
Yeah, we watched that their France game actually on the bus back from Edinburgh all together. And, they put some decent stuff together and had a good crack at France and looked very threatening. So I think when we went into that week, we knew what a challenge some of their players possess and the things that we were looking at. So to come away with the 0, we're very pleased with. That was one of the aims going in there, was to improve our defence and make sure we controlled more of the aspects of the game than we did against Scotland. And we didn't defend very well in the first half. So it was a big work on. Unfortunately, I think for Italy, they probably got the hardest Six Nations list of fixtures you could probably imagine. So, I think they were very beat up and a bit battered by the end of the game, but hopefully they've had, you know, a good week training, because I think they're going to do great still in this tournament. They might have started it a bit tricky, but you know, with the players they've got and some of the stuff they were still doing out there, they're a great team, and I wish them luck for the rest of the tournament and hope they do well. But yeah, the 0 was pleasing, but like I said, you've got so much to work on, and now Wales, I think, you know, awesome start to their campaign, and I'm going unbeaten into this game. We're both unbeaten, so someone's going to lose that this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, you got no bones about being party poopers bursting the Welsh bubble at all, because they are riding high. We had Ffion Lewis on earlier. I mean, she's got lambs and all sorts being named after her, such as the intensity and the interest in the women's game. You got any animals named after you?
I'm not sure. There's always a dog. There's always dogs out there called Poppy. Whenever I'm at the park, someone's always calling their dog, and it's always has to be Poppy. So I'm not sure if it's going to be after me. If anyone wants to name their dog after me, I'll be very honoured, though.
There you are. You've heard it here first. There we thought we were going to talk about some intense Six Nations action and what have you. You know, we're talking about naming dogs and farm animals. Of course, that's the Women's Rugby Pod. That's how we roll. Wales, yeah. Don't need to talk about contracts and whether they're kicking in quite yet physically, but certainly mentally, it certainly seems that's the case for them. Where do you see their biggest threats, Poppy?
For Wales, I think, regardless of their contracts or not, they're just so passionate. Whenever they're out there playing against the English, it's always a mighty battle. You know, huge games, the physicality that they bring in their forwards, and you know, they're led very well by Siwan, and they've just got that heart and desire. And sometimes when you go into a rugby match, that can, you know, win or lose you a game. The fact, you know, that you're playing with that badge on your chest and really getting into it. So, you know, they've got threats up front, like I just mentioned, with their forwards, and then you've obviously got Jazz Joyce, and I think Kaylee Pound's doing a great job at the moment for fullback for them. So yeah, their back three can be electric, and we just got to make sure that when they get the ball, we shut them down as quick as we can.
Sinead Harris starting at 8 this week. How much of I know you're in the row, but no doubt you will get in amongst some defensive work against her. How much is she going to bring to the party? And have you focused on her a little bit this week?
So we just seen the team obviously came out today for us. So not really. You know, we didn't know what the team was going to be. She's done such a great job for them off the bench, giving them a tempo and increasing that intensity in the last 20, 30 minutes of the game. And you weren't sure if she was going to get that role again, because she's done that so well, and then or if she'd earned that 8 shirt because she did go so well. So it's an interesting one, the back row they've picked, and she's going to be a threat, whatever shirt she had on her back. And yeah, it's definitely one we're going to have to look at this weekend and make sure we deal with her correctly and the best way we can, because at the end of the day, she's a world-class operator in the 8 shirt, and she's going to be a threat around the park.
How much of a difference is it, Rob? Because I'm not going to ask you where you prefer to play, because I think I've asked you before and you said, I don't care, just as long as I'm on the park. And I don't want some let's please Emily Lyles kind of answer back at me. But where do you prefer to be playing, Poppy? I mean, the embarrassment, Burf and I were going through it earlier, the embarrassment of riches in a back row, let alone a back 5, and a lot of you can play in both positions, is utterly embarrassing. Good to get on the park, but how much of the difference do you have in your role and in your strength as a player, playing from 4/5 rather than 8?
Yeah, so I was thinking about that actually today, because I think 3 positional changes in 3 games, and I was thinking about how my role changes in when I do make those changes, because I think I got it a bit wrong in training this week, and just reflect on that and how when I do get these role changes, it does change what I have to do on the pitch. I think conversely, as I've got older, I've changed my answer. So if you were to ask me now what position I preferred, I think I'm going to have to say 8. I just think the attributes that I bring to the game is most suited to the 8 role. I don't think I'd do badly when I go into the second row or at 6, but I just feel that's where you get the best out of me. So obviously I've got the second role job this weekend, and I'm going to go out there and give it my best, and hopefully perform really well and to the ability that I know I can do. So yeah, it's an interesting one. I just think over time, and I've realised myself and got to know myself as a player and what helps me and what doesn't. I think the 8 shirt's probably where I think I go best at.
And you get a nice close-up personal view of Donna as well in the scrums as well. Your club mate at Saracens. You'll be looking up at Donna Rose in the Welsh front row. So that'll be nice. Just a couple more. I mean, I don't think, and you alluded to it earlier on, I don't think England are playing anywhere near where they can. How awesome is it to play with such an exceptional group of individuals? And it's about timing, isn't it? And it's about luck and what have you. But in virtually every single position now, you're talking definitely 2, if not 3, very, very good players, if not world-class players that the Red Hoses have. How awesome is that? And do you have to pinch yourself at times when you get back to your hotel room like you are now?
Yeah, absolutely. To be in this generation of rugby players, it's an honour, and it's awesome to be able to get to play with all the girls we do week in, week out. And it come from the 2017 World Cup, where I think the coaches sat down and just said, we need more strength and depth. Rugby's an attritional sport. You just don't know what's going to be happening and what's going to happen to your squad after the next game. I think it was like crazy. Like the coaches said, out of their playing squad of 36, they only have 75% available. That's the most they've ever had. So there's always going to be injuries and people unavailable. So, since 2017, that's 4 or 5 years, they've had to work on this strength and depth. And I think it's not just, a couple of months of work. It's years and years to get this strength and depth, and how the fact that every time the team comes out and we open up the WhatsApp, you cannot call it. You can try and pretend, but if the Mugs game, you will never be able to call the team sheet that Mids comes out of the weekend. It's so competitive. And he said, he just said this week, like, this team is one of the hardest he ever has to pick. The competition is so high. This is the best team in the world. You have to be on it at every session, and one bad session and your name could be out of that team.
Yeah. Wow, it sounds like incredibly exciting, but pressured environment. But that's being number one, isn't it? Poppy, I'm gonna let you go. Really, really appreciate your time. Who's your roomie who slipped in the background very, very quietly? I admit.
You noticed?
Yeah, I heard the door. I've been to a few hotel rooms.
They're gonna say hello.
Who was that?
I crawled in.
Oh, of course. There they are, Sister Sledges. There they are. Hardy Friday.
For quite a big girl, she was actually quite quiet when she rolled in.
Yeah, it was just a tiny latch on the door that I heard. But no, it's great to see you in such good form, and I really appreciate you coming on, and all the very, very best for the weekend and for the rest of the Six Nations.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, Poppy. You take care. Cheers, Bryony. But Poppy, it's great to have her on. She speaks brilliantly. I think she's becoming a fantastic role model for women's rugby and the Red Roses. But she kind of epitomises for me England in the opening two rounds. She's playing really well, but not finely polished and not exceptional. And I think that's probably safe to say for the whole team. Would you go along with that?
Yeah, and I think very much England know that they've got so much more to give. There's some elements of their game that have been absolutely brilliant and outstanding, and you can't fault it. And look, every coach, every player always strives to that 80-minute performance and wants a perfect performance. Never gets that perfect one, but you can try and get as close to it. And we definitely haven't seen that yet from England. But you got to kind of expect that because of the amount of rotation that Simon Middleton wants to do.
Agreed.
We're all looking ahead to that France game and wanting to see what a team he puts out for a first instance, but then also how they manage that 80 minutes, and will that be a perfect performance or as near as? Probably not, but still that's what you've got to expect because of last weekend, what was it, 11 changes to the starting lineup. Like, that's going to bring in some challenges for everybody, but England are aware of that. And I think that the great thing about the Red Roses is no matter how good they are, no matter how well they're beating players, they're not satisfied. And that's the marking of, what a great team that they are and continue to become.
And I being around it as you are too, around the personalities and the squad itself, it's a really, really good culture within those players. The likes of our very own Sunter, Emily Scarrett coming back, Mo Hunt, for example, like Poppy Cleall. There's a really, really good culture, and it's just everyone wants to get better and better and better because everybody wants to be in that starting 15. Everyone wants to be on a plane to New Zealand, whether that's 30-player squad or 36-player squad. That's what they're fighting for now. And use another Saracen player, Sarah McKenna. You think, do you know what? Yeah, there's so much talent out wide. Kildan, Dow, Jess Breach, Cowell, all the rest of it. Sarah McKenna comes in and just puts in a brilliant Sarah McKenna performance. You go, oh, she's in the mix then as well, you know. And it's, I mean, geez, the headaches are extraordinary for Simon Middleton and Scott Beeman and Lewis Deacon. What did impress you particularly about the Italy win then?
I think kind of like generally you've seen that their set piece was good against Scotland. That's continued even with some of the changes. I think, you know, someone like a Shauna Brown really needed to lay a marker in that area. And like, we know what Shauna can do around the park, but from autumn, she had a very strong directive to go and work on your set piece. And, you know, the first scrum that they do, they earn a penalty. So, you know, for players like that to step up and perform. And like you say, Sarah McKenna, she's been out for 4 months with this horrible injury, steps back in completely out of position and absolutely, like she brings a completely different dynamic to being a winger. You talk about the Jess Breaches, the Cowells, the Thompsons, like
Lydia Thompson, you did mention her, did I? Sorry, with her hat trick. So yeah, she should probably be in the mix.
Yeah, but like McKenna's she's really clever at coming off, like going looking for work. She can read what defenders do. She's a ball player, so she has that element to her. And I thought she played really well. She's always busy looking for work. And again, like, you know, probably before this game, you're thinking, is she going to get back in the mix? Is she going to be pushing for a place? And then suddenly a performance like that, scores 2 tries, you know, definitely puts her hand back up. And I think we'll see her play, you know, hopefully see her play a bit of fullback this weekend as well to see what she can do there.
Yeah, and again, that impetus off the bench, just because the squad is so strong. I mean, you know, 74-0, 11 tries, and we haven't been wonderfully positive. But I think that's, you know, England are driving the way in terms of their professionalism, and they expect a huge high standard of themselves. I thought it was great to see Lydia Thompson coming back in, and she's just an arch finisher, isn't she? She's just, I mean, her scoring record speaks for itself. We spoke about that earlier, but the impact off the bench, you know, I know people were scoring tries for fun at times, but Alex Matthews came. Scored a try, didn't she? Sarah Byrne coming off the bench, just handing off people and pace. Vicky Fleetwood, I think, again, one of those players like Shauna Brown had to put down a bit of a marker. She got on the score sheet. Of course, Emily Scarrett, many congratulations, 50th international try for Dame Scarrett. Emma Singh coming off the bench as well. The only other person I wanted to pick up on was Rosie Galligan. Again, another one of those players, been out a while. I think she's been, we got fanfare performances, haven't we, from Marley Packer in round 1, and Lydia Thompson with a hat trick at the weekend. But I think Rosie Galligan, that scrum, as you say, has been excellent. The line-out's been excellent, but her work around the park, I've been hugely impressed that she's come out with a real bag.
Yeah, and it's all on merit. She's performed so well in the Allianz Premier 15s, and like you said, she's had that torrid time, you know, a couple of years, a really disruptive time, you know, having meningitis and having a serious injury. She then moved clubs, and right at the early set, she was like, I really want to push for an opportunity. She's aware of kind of where she could be within that pecking order with a Zoe Allcroft back. She thought, if there's injuries, there could be an opportunity for me. And instead of just kind of going, oh, I'm here now, she's really like pushed on. I thought she was outstanding against Scotland. The stats that she brought up for only playing 61 minutes as well was really remarkable. I think it was like 17 tackles, 4 ball carries. So, you know, for somebody to put that much effort in and start reaping the rewards, I'm really pleased for her. And she's only 23. She's only 23, which is like a great thing for England to have an extra step of depth in that position area. They massively rely just on Abby Ward a hell of a lot. So, you know, they need to make sure that they're developing that area. And I think Rosie's like really steps up to the mark so quickly and so well.
Did she call the line out at Quins?
Yeah, she has done. Yeah.
So she can do that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, again, you know, Zoe Allcroft in there, Harriet Miller-Mills, we haven't seen yet can play in there. We know, so just slotted in there. We know that Poppy Cleall slotted in there. You talk about Abby Ward, Kath O'Donnell's not even fit at the moment. It's an embarrassment of riches, isn't it? For Italy then, just barely got out of second gear.
Yeah, I don't think we saw one good moment when they won. I think one of their only scrums, their set piece that they won. Lovely little line break from Agoni, but other than that, you just didn't see anything that we've seen previous years or even last week against France. They didn't really make a dent in their ball carries or their collisions, which just made it really easy for England to defend. And England were really good defensively. And yeah, I think they just really struggled. Game management, overplaying in certain areas when you've got an entourage of England defenders coming at you time and time again. You've just got to get out of some danger zones. And it was disappointing because I think, and knowing, speaking to Jada, they know that they didn't perform, and normally they cause England problems.
Yeah.
Normally they're a team that are quite disruptive for England, but you don't know whether with some of the selection, like Ffion on the bench and Baratin on the bench, that maybe those couple of elements did have an impact. So yeah, it was a shame that we didn't see, what Italy can produce against England.
I agree with you. I wonder whether it's France away, England home. That's a hell of a tough start to a Six Nations, and I think most pragmatic people would say those aren't games expected to win. They've now got 3 games, and this is kind of almost where their tournament starts. And I hope that's what they come out this weekend with real injection against Ireland. That's certainly a very, very winnable game. And I just wonder whether their tournament starts now. Ireland, yes, as you say, a little bit stuttery from then. Let's go to the France game next then. 40 points to 5 over Ireland. Another good win for France. Again, not as polished. Sansus pulling the strings, sliding herself into that bracket of player of the tournament already, isn't she?
Yeah, she is. Not finely polished, but again, it's a reasonably strong performance against Ireland, which again, not seeing what we want to see from Ireland. Weren't particularly competitive at all. And I think France will look back and realise that there was a lot of opportunities that they didn't quite get right out there. But at the same time, I think it's their physicality that just is what's setting them apart at the moment, which is, again, I know I keep referencing it, but what kind of makes it pretty exciting for that last game of how physical England are, to see how physical France can be against England. But yeah, look, I think France are on their way. They again also had a few players coming into the fold, a few players coming out. So naturally, you've got a few players still missing. But I think they're more settled. That they obviously know they're not going through all this rotation like England are, so they're getting settled within their team. But it's so disappointing from Ireland. I think that first try that gets disallowed, does that make a difference? Could that change how the game feels potentially? But it just doesn't seem like things are quite working at the moment.
No, and you can give them a lot of grace, can't you? Because it's a kind of a new era. That's probably too dramatic, but yeah, it's a fresh start, isn't it? It's a fresh chapter, new coach, some senior players moved along, Sene Napu, Lindsay Peat, these kind of players. So I think you give them some grace in terms of performance of that, but it was, you always want to see heart and fight and desire, and at times I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm sure a huge amount of effort was there. I wonder if they can get back up for the fight this weekend. We will see. Wales Scotland 24-19.
Oh, how did
Scotland started with a bang. Skeldon 50th cap. Whoop whoop. Roland Lloyd. They look great. And then just after the first half, it's all Wales. The comeback queens.
Yeah, that's what they're being labelled as. But, I mean, that will be such a hard watch for Scotland, to watch that game back and know that they let that slip and let that go. Is really, really disappointing. It's like one of those games where you feel you've got all control, and then all of a sudden you've got to realise all of a second half time's a complete reset. You've got to then restart. And, you know, luckily for Wales, again, you know, obviously that was the same story last weekend as well. You know, they've come out and found a new gear, and it's almost like it takes them, at the moment, it's taken them half a game to work things out, recognise what they need to do, and then go and implement it. They can't afford to do that this weekend against England, because then it'll be a really hard slog, which I think it will be anyway. But, you know, for me, there's so many players in that Scotland team that have the ability to take hold of a game. And I just feel like Rachael Malcolm probably needed a bit more support during that game to go, right, this is getting away from us. How do we switch this momentum? What do we need to do? How do we need to stop Wales? Because they just had this kind of barrage of constant coming at you, and just Scotland could never catch their breath. So yeah, I'm gutted for Scotland, but fair play to Wales. You know, they're definitely showing that fight about them. And you know, for a lot of people saying around kind of the contracts and stuff like it, that is making a difference. The last 20 minutes, 30 minutes of a game is making a big difference. That's where the amateur sides really struggle. A, because they don't have as much strength and depth that's coming off a bench, but also that fatigue and that fitness level is also dropping off. So, you know, when you're saying, oh, we're not going to see much of a difference in 3 months, we won't see loads, but we're definitely, in these first 2 rounds, we've seen the difference of England, Wales, having professional and semi-professional contracts that is having an impact on their results.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think, you know, the physical gain will obviously continue throughout this year. The biggest thing for me, we talk about it all the time, don't we? You and I, about the mental side. Somebody's believing in them, somebody's backing them, and you know, when the chips are down, to know it's not just a 15 on the part of the 23 in the stadium, but you know, your union is backing you. That you go to darker places more readily, don't you?
Yeah, 100%. You know, when someone's backing you up and supporting you, and they're doing everything they can at the moment, like, then yeah, you find something to want to give back, because you want to give back to something that's given to you. It's, you know, that's a natural human instinct. And, you know, when you've got 15 of those on a pitch all at one time, that amounts to a lot. So yeah, I think we've always said that Wales have got plenty of passion, and they will fight to the death, you know, before this era of contracts and everything. But there's so much of that without the backing, and now they've got the backing. There's a responsibility, but there's that kind of will to want to give back as well. So yeah, I think you're definitely going to get a next level, like just emotionally and not just necessarily physically as well.
Yeah, the impact from the bench, you know, Shannon Harris knows why she hasn't been involved for some time, but
She has to start for me this weekend.
And Karis Phillips, you know, just cementing things up front. Yeah, so there's some that 23 is now becoming better and better and better. Yeah, we'll be a stern test this weekend. We'll talk about that game in a moment. We just talk about emotions there, and I just wanted to. You mentioned Rachael Malcolm earlier. If you haven't seen it, do look up her post-match interview, because if you want to know about leadership of rugby and of human beings, and how to represent yourself and your country immaculately, Dr. Rachael Malcolm does that in the interview. What an outstanding human being she is. Scotland are incredibly lucky to have her. So there's my little bit of love pushed out to the doc. There we go then, Burf. That's wrapped up round 2. Let's have a look at some of the news in the last 7 days.
Hello, you lovely people. I'm Shauna Brown, and you're listening to Women's Rugby Pod.
England under 20 took on France at Henley Hawks at the weekend, narrowly losing 27-32. There's some good names in there for England, and again that pathway working well, isn't it? Amy Turner involved with the senior set-up in the under 20s, like Rosie Dobson. These are all, if you watch the Premier 15s, these are all names you'll know. Alana Bainbridge, the DMP player, Grace Compton, England Sevens, Georgina Tasker, Flo Robinson, Kelsey Clifford. So yes, some experience being gained at international level for those, but that does make the series 3-0 to France in the end.
And the Super W results are in. Jura beat New South Wales 29-10. Brumbies beat Western Force 27-19. And the Reds beat the Rebels 55 to 5. So what that means on the table, or as they call it, the ladder, Fijiana Jura lead the way from 4 and a maximum of 20 points. New South Wales in behind with 3 wins, same as the Reds. Force at the bottom, yet to get off to the mark. This week, Western Force versus Rebels has been postponed. Reds travel to New South Wales, whilst Jura host the Brumbies.
In Spain, Libertadores League, it was semi-final time. Maradona beat Cisneros 29-24, while Cotiver Cocos thrashed CR Olympico 40 points to 16. So the final this weekend in Cisneros, I hope I've said that correct, Cotiver Cocos, there's a lot of season there, take on Maradona.
That was well said, Johnny. And Munster branch have withdrawn the motion to recognise women's AIL clubs and players as seniors from its AGM this week. Now, it's the only province not to bestow senior status to all women's AIL clubs.
Extraordinary decision, archaic at very best. On to some brighter news. You're going to play Loughborough Lightning at Franklin's Gardens on the 14th of May, announced this week. Obviously, the trial that Loughborough Lightning had down at their sort of sister partner club, I went so well. You're going to take them on there in a regular season game.
Allianz Cup news: the postponed Saracens v Exeter Chiefs game was abandoned and will not be arranged. The other results: Bristol Bears beat DMP 53-10. Loughborough Lightning took on Worcester but losing 34-27, and Wasps beat Gloucester Hartbury 35-22. Semi-finals schedule has been released, and it's Harlequins versus Worcester and Exeter versus Bristol. Saracens versus Gloucester and a 5th and 6th playoff, whilst Wasps beat Sale in a 7th and 8th playoff, and Loughborough versus DMP for a 9th, 10th playoff.
Yes, good experience for some of those sort of fringe players, isn't it? Speaking of Premiership, we've got to get your thoughts. Gerard Mullen, your coach, moving to the academy, back over to the men's side. Just give you an opportunity for your thoughts.
Yeah, I think, really sad to see him go. The players, he's a really, really good coach. But also he just genuinely cares about players. And he's made a massive impact over the last couple of seasons with us. And obviously he's not leaving completely. He's just kind of stepping across the other line of the pitch. But yeah, look, he's been so good for the last 2 seasons with us, and we've still got the rest of the season to go. But, it's disappointing to see such a great coach leave the programme or step across to another programme within the club. But he's already said, I'm just around the corner, so more than happy to still work with some players and individually and step in. And, he's massively helped drive the game and internally, but also externally. He's mega excited about where the club's going on its journey. So yeah, we wish him all the best, but at the same time, we are disappointed to see him go because he is a great coach, and you don't get many coaches that are really good. That really kind of kick off from the start. I think, when he came in, not many people knew who Gerard were, and he made an impact literally first session. Everybody realised, it doesn't matter that we've not heard of you or we don't know you, you really know your stuff, and we got massive buy-in to him. So yeah, really disappointed to see him leave, but wish him all the best when he goes off at the end of the season.
From an outside point of view, he's only been there for a year, and in that next year he's moving on. You're reigning champions, and we'll be pushing for those honours very strongly again at the end of this year. You want to stick around that kind of winning environment. From outside, it's a strange decision he's moving on.
Yeah, I think, everybody has their own reasonings, but I think Gerard really wants to really focus on his coaching and doing more of it more regularly, which that allows him more opportunity to do with the academy. That doesn't just stop at the academy. I think there'll be a lot of outreach work. There'll also be crossover that can do more coaching in the men's setup as well. So I think it gives him the best opportunity to continue to grow and develop himself. And like I said, he will still be around, so he will still be helping to influence what we're doing as well. But But at the same time, it makes it a really exciting opportunity for a new coaching setup to begin, and then to be, something that's kind of cemented for years to come. Gerard was kind of always going to be a part of the club long term, and it didn't kind of know where that journey was going to take him. But massively appreciate who he is and the amount that he's supported me with personally. But he's one of the coaches that you're more than just a rugby player to him. He actually cares about you as an individual, and I think that's why he brings out the best in a lot of his players.
Yeah, very clear. You and he have a good, strong relationship. More tracksuit time for Burford. Who knows? Perhaps he's dusting that CV off, sliding it into the powers that be at Quids. Anyway, that's for another day.
Navy v the RAF women's game kicks off at 12 noon at Vallis Way, home of Ealing Trailfinders. Tickets through the Navy Rugby Union website. And also the game is being streamed on the Forces TV and Facebook links.
The last bit of news, under 18s, Six Nations Festival, and isn't this brilliant to see, starts this weekend. The squads travel up to Edinburgh to compete between the 9th and 13th of April in various formats of matches.
I'm Jane Conkle, and you're listening to the Women's Rugby Pod.
So then, Burf, let's get into round 3. Napkins, knives and forks are ready. Let's start, shall we? It's probably... Can't start anywhere else, but England, Wales, always top of bill when these two meet, isn't it? And luckily, the winning try scorer from last week, Ffion Lewis, the Welsh scrum half, is going to talk to us not only about farmyard animals being named after her, winning tries, but also the game against the Red Roses at Kingsholm this weekend. Here's Ffion Lewis. It is a very, very warm welcome to Ffion Lewis. How are you, Ffion? Are you well?
I'm good, thank you. How are you doing?
Yeah, very well. It looks like it's shiny at the Vale there.
It is. Sun is shining. Blue skies are out. Sunny day in Wales.
Always, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Ffion, you're sort of taking a break from training just to jump on with us, and we hugely appreciate that. What's the mood in camp?
Mood is good. Mood is really good. Obviously on the back of two great bonus point wins. Obviously the great success we've had with contracts and stuff like that. It's just on the up at the minute. Everyone's really excited. Obviously Six Nations is a really great tournament. So yeah, so far so good. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, is there coming into the tournament? Because we talk about, you spoke there about the contracts and what have you, and I've been blabbering on as I do the last couple of weeks about the mental impact that has. At the moment, you're probably going to see a slight physical difference, and I think we're probably seeing that in the last quarter. But actually, it's that mental difference of being backed and knowing that the WRU are in it together, and you're all singing off the same hymn sheet. When you came into camp, pre-Six Nations, was there an extra skip in the step? Could you notice it?
Yeah, 100%. Like even the points of like recovery, like getting more time. Like I was a teacher before I got off the contract, so training late and then waking up early to go into work and having a really long day. Like I'd leave for work at 7, and then if I was going straight to training from work, I wouldn't get in until 10:30, 11 o'clock some nights. So even on that aspect where you're just mentally drained, but you do it because I've never known any different and I love the game. So even from that aspect, coming in, having that time to recover, having time to really be the best rugby player, even just like getting time to look analysis, spend more time on mobility, which you don't have enough time to do when you're obviously working full time as well. So yeah, loads of aspects like that. But yeah, to have the back and support of the WRU, I think so far shown that investment really is kind of the way forward, and I think we are really showing that through our performances so far. So hopefully it's here to stay.
Yeah, 100%. So you swapped barking at children to barking at a bunch of forwards all day long.
I don't know what's worse, to be honest.
No, well, yeah. Knowing some of your squad members, I think I'll probably go with the children. But
you're telling me sometimes, yeah.
Look, let's go back to last weekend. Arms Park, which is a bit of your spiritual home as Wales women. Just first of all, the atmosphere, the build-up, the crowd, all the rest of it. Just how brilliant was that? And were you able to absorb it?
it was absolutely insane. You know, record-selling crowd. Even when you're singing the anthem, for me, like singing the anthem is like one of the favorite parts for me. Like, and hearing everybody else with the choir. When we turned up on the team bus, there was a girls' kind of tournament in the Principality Stadium beforehand, and they'd all stood outside waiting for us to arrive. And we had the choir there as well. So when we came off the bus, everyone was cheering, choir was singing. That's something we'd never had before. And honestly, a few of the girls, like, we all felt quite emotional. And that really got us kind of even more fired up, like coming in to be like, this is the welcome we were getting. It was incredible. And even just the crowd through the game, like cheering us on, and you could hear them, they were roaring. It was absolutely amazing. So that does have a massive impact on us. And, you know, like, we want to give back, as, you know, from the support we're getting from them, we want to give back to them. So yeah, it's really grateful that everyone came out and support us.
Yeah, I think it's an incredibly unique thing about women's rugby, that connection, direct 100%. Connection with a crowd. That, yeah, certainly men's rugby does not have that. And so that emotion took a little while to kick in. First half against Scotland, under the pump, they came out really, really well. Lana Skeldon on a 50 Cup try, a couple from Rona Lloyd. Let's go to half time. What was the atmosphere like? Was it cool? Was it calm? What messages? Who was speaking?
We have you know, like a thing in place where we say we have attack and defence leads, and we have leaders in place who give key messages. You know, we said beforehand on the reflection of Ireland, we wanted to make sure we came out hard. We didn't want to come out slow, and unfortunately, we didn't take on that message with the first half. It was something we needed to reflect on, and we knew Scotland were going to come down hurting, and we, you know, couldn't write them off. They're a hard working side, and, you know, they're a very tight knit group, and, you know, they really brought it to us. Our penalty count was too high, and it's something that, you know, we had that chat at half time saying that, you know, if we aren't going to be disciplined enough going to the second half, you know, Scotland are going to take this away from us. So it was about being clinical and being disciplined and really reflecting about how much we really wanted it. You know, the hard work we've put in over the last few weeks maybe didn't completely show in that first half, and we knew we were better than that. So it's just, I think, coming out after half time, I think, you know, came all guns blazing then.
Yeah, absolutely. The comeback queens, I think, of you've been called on social media across. So you're sat on the bench for a little while, watching it sort of unfold. Wales are coming back into the game. Are you one of those players? It's a tight situation. You're at home, obviously desperate to win. You're just eager to get on, or you're a little bit trepidatious to think, oh, geez, can't make mistakes in a tight game like this.
I think it's whatever's best for the team. You know, I trust the coaches in their decisions. If at that time they didn't feel like putting me on was the right decision, then I'd respect that. But they made the decision to put me on. So going on at that point, I think it's just focusing on doing my job and doing my job well. You know, making sure I'm doing the basics and really kind of leading the team in that front, in a pinnacle position. So yeah, and, you know, credit to the result we did have, and credit to the girls, you know, fighting out right to the end. I think that demonstrates now where we are as a team. Like, maybe a year or two ago, you know, in that last 20 minutes, their games we used to lose, but now in the, you know, these last two games, we're winning those 20 minutes. So I think it shows how much we've progressed over these last few weeks now coming into this campaign. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, that first part of the answer was textbook. Liz Jones would be very, very happy. Very straight bat. Media handbook, page 74 for that one. Just do my job, trust the coaches. No, you must be jumping to get on, and you made the impact. Scored that try. What's going through your mind as you receive that ball? I mean, was it now 80 metres out, wasn't it?
Run fast was what I was thinking. I was like, I got to give credit to Alicia. She's an incredible ball player. Like, I've had so much credit for the try, but I'm like, she did all the work. She came up to me after the game being like, have you got anything to say to me? And I was like, thank you. But yeah, I was thinking, run. And everyone was saying to me at the end, like afterwards, why didn't you run under the post? And I was like, in my eye line, I could see a navy brown haired Scottish person. I thought it was Rona Lloyd. And I was like, she is fast. So I was like, I can't risk getting caught right now. So I like arced off. I don't think you could have seen it on TV. And I was like, I wasn't being stupid. I was just going to get caught by Rona Lloyd. But no, at the end, Jazz Joyce came up to me after the try. She was like, "Your legs are going." I was like, "Yeah, that was really far. How do you do this all the time?"
Yeah, I'm good over 5 or 6 meters, but like 15, 20, 25.
That's
No,
your
thanks.
job.
Yeah. I seem to hit treacle after a while. No, look, it was a great finish and a brilliant way to finish the game. And as you say, I'd even sort of suggest even 6 months ago, you're not finishing games like that off, and it has made an incredible impact. Let's move. No, let's talk about celebrations. Were they muted?
What do you mean by muted?
Were they doused down because you're in the middle of the campaign and what have you? Got England this weekend, or did you go? Do you know what, we deserve to celebrate this and we'll go and have Cardiff red?
No, yeah, muted for sure. I mean, we celebrated in the change rooms from the regards. Like we have this traditional song that we sing and dance to at the end. But other than that, it's pretty PG in our camp. We don't want to get complacent. Like, it's 2 games. We've still got, however many to go. So we can't get complacent and get way ahead of ourselves. We still need to make sure we're working hard until the very end. So yeah, very PG celebration in camp.
What's the song?
Rolling on a river. I don't know.
I don't know how it goes. How does it go?
Rolling, rolling on a river, and then it builds up, and then it drops, and then we all go absolutely mental.
Of course I knew it. No, thank you
That
very
was
much.
a terrible song. I hope you don't put that in.
I mean, that's front and centre. That's going out the social media clip. That is. No, that's great. I very much know the song. Rolling.
Yeah,
of course. Absolutely.
It goes slow, and you've got to build up into it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Brilliant. Let's move forward to this weekend then. Probably no bigger challenge. Probably France away might be up there, but England on the doorstep at Gloucester, a huge crowd. We're talking 13,000, 14,000 in at Kingsholm. Just how much are you looking forward to that?
Yeah, insane. Like England, Wales, that's games like that is what you play for as an international athlete. It's the biggest game of the Six Nations. That's a big one. The sellout for the tickets is absolutely incredible. I've played at Kingsholm with my club for Worcester. It's an incredible ground. To think that's going to be sold out and there's going to be, each section of the stands filled is incredible. It just shows the support women's rugby at the minute. It just shows how much it's growing, and I think it's incredible. And we're so grateful as players we've got such awesome backing. But yeah, it's going to be a big test now.
Is it the one? Is that when the Six Nations fixtures are announced? Do you flick your finger through and say, "Well, where's England? When have we got England?"
Of course, and Welsh. You're going to look at that England game and think that's a big one, regardless of whether it's home or away. England is a big challenge, and they are an incredible outlet. Best in the world for a reason. But regardless of what they've achieved and what they've accomplished, doesn't change how we view it as Welsh internationals, and we want to take it to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a couple more. I'm conscious of your time. What do you have to get right? I mean, they've just dispatched Italy, who sort of getting better, had a really good autumn by 11 shy 74-0, and probably left a fair amount of points out there as well. What do you have to get right, Ffion, on come Saturday?
We need to be disciplined. I think that's the most important thing. If we have a high penalty count like we did in Scotland, England are going to capitalise against that. They're smart rugby players, a very experienced side. They are going to take advantage of that. So we need to be disciplined from minute 1 to minute 80, and that's a non-negotiable. And to be honest, we just need to play to our strengths. Like, we know they're going to be ruining us like we are to them, but we need to stick to our structure and play what's worked well for us over these last 2 games. But yeah, discipline is the main focus for us, for sure. Absolutely.
Mo Hunt's on the bench for them, so maybe we'll be sort of coming on that kind of time. Lucy Packer starting the game, I believe. Or certainly in between the Infante. You rate those 3?
So yeah, they got Zoe Harrison at 10, Helen Ronan at 12, Scars at 13. So they got some threats in the back line. They got fast-paced backs, but I mean, to flip it back, to our squad, so do we. Like, our back 3 are quick. We've got kicking threats from 12 to 13, and our pack, are strengthened, are so strong and experienced. So I mean, I think we're well matched in that sense. But like, if we want to be, you know, competing against the best teams in the world, we need to play against the best teams in the world. And I think this is going to be a great game to show where we're at, to show to where we were previously. So yeah, it's going to be an exciting test for sure.
Yeah, great measuring stick. Just finally, about this calf.
Reason, I love it.
We've, if people weren't listening and don't know anything about it, you're not a farming family, are you?
No, not at all.
But there's a farmer in Wales who has named a calf after you.
Yeah, a bit. Well, it's actually a baby. It's actually a lamb. It's a
It's a
baby
lamb, is it?
lamb. Yeah, it's a baby lamb. It's a black lamb. I actually had a message on Instagram, but I didn't see it until after the game, because I didn't find out until I got interviewed at post-match about the lamb. Yeah, and he said that he was coming to watch the game on his home stag, which I thought was awesome that he was coming to our game on his stag too. And yeah, they've been lambing, and he's naming them with the letter F, and he wanted to name after a Welsh player, so he named it after me. He said I can go and see her whenever I want. So I was like, that's brilliant. I have to go down and meet her.
Lovely.
You and your mascot.
Easter's coming up. Have you got some? No, we shouldn't go there, should we?
That's too far. That's way too far.
Are you happier that it's a lamb and not a calf, which I think is doing the rounds?
Yeah.
Slightly better being named a lamb being named
Maybe.
after you rather than
I
a
know.
calf?
I think I don't know which. Probably maybe the calf would be worse, but baby calves are really cute, so maybe that would have been a compliment.
No, I think it's yeah, we're laughing and joking about it, but the fact that it's a burly or not, but you know, have that sort of outdoory type ethos, don't they? They're farmers. He's coming to your game, naming after your squad, and he's coming to your game on his stag do.
I know.
Says it all, doesn't it, about
100%.
where women's rugby is at the moment?
100%. It just shows the great place we're in, but like, this is only down to the people just wanting to invest time into us. And like, again, performances like Ireland and Scotland, it's kind of like a give back. I know I said at the beginning, but you know, it's so rewarding to be able to give that back. Like, the crowd's reaction after Scotland, like, it just hopefully makes them want to come and watch us even more. And the response we've had from social media has been incredible. So yeah, like I say, to have someone name a lamb after me just shows, I think, how far we've gone forward, if that's a good comparison from where we were before.
Freedom of the city? No, I just want farm animals named after me. Thanks very much.
I made it in life.
Done. I'm done. Dusty. Ffion, look, thank you so much. Congratulations on a stunning start. I think, you know, Jenny, as a general rugby fan, absolutely delighted for you, and knowing quite a few of you personally, I'm really pleased for you. And all the very, very best at Kingsholm against England on Saturday.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your support.
I'm Jess Breach, and you're listening to the Women's Rugby Pod.
What an effervescent character, typical scrum half, Burf. I love that. What was going through your mind when you broke through for the try? Just run quickly. Brilliant stuff from Ffion. England, Wales, Gloucester, 13,000-14,000. Fingers crossed we get up to that kind of level. Simple enough to say you can only see the result going one way. Yeah, I think it's probably fair to say the result going one way, but how do you see both teams performing?
Yeah, I think we're still going to see an England win this weekend, and I still think England are going to do significant damage. But do I think it's going to be the same results in past times where, you know, big numbers are being racked up? I'd really like to hope not. I mean, you know, such a big group of that players who play for Wales, they're playing week in, week out for Bristol Bears in Allianz Premier 15s team against a lot of these players, and also with some of these players. So they know them very well. So they definitely can cause some disruption. You know, he's had the same team the last few weeks. Is he going to keep the same, or is he going to have some rotation? That will obviously play a part into how the fixture goes. But look, I think Wales are really competitive. They've got a lot of physicality around them. Their set piece is decent. So they've got lots of good elements, and they've got players like Alicia Butchers who can last ditch pull a team back into things. You know, they've got so much talent across the board. Do I think we'll see a competitive game? Yes. But do I think England will run away with the result still? Unfortunately, I do. I just think, that time that England have had together, their bench to come off as well to impact, they're just so much further along at the moment that I don't think there's going to be a story that's different to what everybody probably expects it to be this weekend.
I mean, he has made a couple of changes, isn't he, young Cunningham? In particular, we're recording sort of throughout Thursday, such as the WRP process. Robin Wilkins at 10 rather than Eddie Snowsill. I thought in the last couple of rounds, wonderful footballer that Al Snowsill is, and great hands and what have you, actually kicking from hand has been poor, and actually that length of kick from hand has put Wales under quite a lot of pressure at times when, they certainly haven't needed that kind of pressure.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talked about how good England are defensively, and if you play in the wrong areas, they're a team that can get the ball back very quickly, whether that's through an error of your own or, you've got three big poachers of the ball: Marley Packer, Alex Matthews, Sarah Hunter. Yeah, Poppy Cleall. I mean, all of them are good poachers over the ball. You've got to be able to play in the right areas and take yourself out of that pressure zone. And Robin Wilkins obviously steps in, has an opportunity to really kind of take some of that pressure off her team at moments in the game. But yeah, it is an interesting change up, isn't it? How he's rotated a couple of players to see what they can bring and what difference they can bring. But then that also brings off some experience and some depth from the bench as well. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, no, I agree. Obviously, Ffion Lewis, our lady on the pod, starting at 9 as well. So let's change at half-backs. Cecilia Tuipulotu gets a chance in the second row. Natalia dropping to the bench. Donna Rose gets a start. And that back row battle, it's, as you say, for the Red Roses, it's Matthews, Packer, Hunter. Will go up against Lillicrap. Lily Crapp's moved to 6. Alicia Butcher's at 7. Alex Callender's moved to the bench. I think she's been exceptional alongside Butcher's. Sinead Harris starts at 8. What those trios against each other is worth the admission alone.
Oh, 100%. I think you've got such individual talent there. Obviously, England's a well-oiled regular outing for that back row. Obviously, Alex Matthews been away a bit more with 7, but I think it's a really smart move moving Alicia Butchers to 7. Just gets her in the open that little bit earlier. The way that England can move the ball, her hounding down Zoe Harrison and Helena, putting them under pressure. And Sinead Harris, she fully deserves to get a start. To come off the bench twice and make such an impact that she has, you've got to give her an opportunity. And if this is a game where he's looking at some opportunities for players, then this had to be it. And yeah, I'm really excited to see how she can start. And I want to be able to see her maintain that level. And we've seen her do it at Worcester. Let's see her do it in a red shirt. But yeah, she's such a force, and she's so dynamic as a player. So it's going to be a really good battle watching her pick off the base and have to deal with Marley Packer and Sarah Hunter coming across, and vice versa.
What did you make of Simon Middleton's selection?
Yeah, I think, again, we knew that there was going to be rotation within the side. Some have stayed in the same position, and some players have earned another opportunity this week who, may have had some minutes off the bench last week. Like Shauna Brown, I think she's earned her place to stay in the squad. Vic Conrad, I think she was outstanding, and I really do think she's gone under the radar of how much she gets through in a game and the work that she does. She's phenomenal, and I feel so blessed that we have her at Harlequins. So I think, it really strong front row.
Ahead of the world.
Yeah, 100%, without question. And not just her ability, but her intelligence as well. She reads the game so well, and she leads so well as well. I think, again, to accommodate getting Matthews in the back row, moving Poppy to second row. I think we've mentioned before how good Galligan's been so far, but that just gives a different dynamic. You think about how heavy they want this pack to be later down the line. Are they looking at potential combinations that they could see coming up against France? But then you've still got some players that have been left out that could have made the team as well, like a Sarah Beckett. You know, unfortunately, she's not been in this. She's not in the mix this week again. But yeah, I mean, it's quite frightening the amount of depth that England have, and yeah, I think good to see Lucy Packer get a first start.
Agreed.
This was the only game that he was going to give her the nod to put her hand up. Tough on Leanne to sit another game out. But how do you make a player of the match MPR? That's quite tough with Natasha Mo Hunt.
Yep.
Yeah, I think combination in the centre is probably Helena's probably just nudging ahead at the moment in the 12 spot. Skaz goes straight in. I'm excited to see Abby Dowd fall back. We've talked about her last week. She's just in a different sphere at the moment, and yeah, I think she's going to be just again another wrecking ball in that back line. And yeah, I can't not mention her, Jess Breachback. You know, she's had a really tough time back to back with injuries, and I think I saw today that she actually said it's been a year since she put the red rose shirt on, and she would have obviously been involved in those autumn internationals and had a really freak bad injury and then re-injured again. And so I'm really excited to see her go, and she's really matured, like as a player, as a person, in and around the training camp at Harlequin. So I'm really excited because she really deserves her shot and her opportunity. She's been training so well at Quins and just slipped straight back into the England fold again. So probably one to watch out for from a normal position anyway, but just from knowing what she's been through, I'm expecting her to be really busy at the weekend and go looking for work and get her hands on the ball really quickly.
We say we give full analysis. I mean, that is fine-tooth comb, microscope out. Love it all, Burf. I think I said Vicky Conrad is the best tight head in the world. That's clearly not correct. She's a loose head, and she's the best loose head in the world. Quite low. What happened there? But yeah, no, people do pick up on these details. I can assure you, and message about it. Yeah, don't like or retweet, but do pick up on the.
I bet you didn't even listen to anything I said. In your head, you're just thinking, "Oh my god, she's a loose head. She's a loose head."
She's a loose head. Loose head. No. You mentioned lots and lots of bits and pieces. What I was going to say was the way to the pack and what have you. You mentioned Sarah Beckett, who would be certainly challenging the first spot in the 23. We're not mentioning the World Player of the Year currently at the moment. Zoe Allcroft's not even in this 23. Yeah. She would be fighting. Amy Cockayne would have something to say about this as well.
Oh my God, yeah.
But
Hannah Bottoman, yeah.
Hannah Bottoman. But you look at that side, and if that went out in the World Cup final, you wouldn't be too upset, would you? I mean,
no, you wouldn't. But now you've mentioned it, like I would 100% have Amy Cockayne in there, and I'd have Zoe Allcroft in there. So
well, where'd you go?
Don't ask me who I'm moving out.
I mean, yeah. Can we have a 17-player side, please? 18-player side. But yeah, no, I like you. Want to see that combination of that back row. And yeah. Abby Dowd, I know we know she's had a couple of games there for Wasps, hasn't she, in the 15 shirt rather than winger shirt. Just gives her a little bit of space. And we're talking about Wales's kicking game earlier on. I wonder, again, just to see her at 15. Ellie Kildown, of course, is there. We know Sarah McKenna can play there, but she stays on the wing, which I think is an interesting selection as well. But Abby Dowd coming strike runner from 15. As we know, fullbacks have the most attacking opportunities in the game. And you chuck out one hat-trick hero, Lydia Thompson, arch finisher for another one. I mean, Jess Breach, it only seems like yesterday we were at Twickenham for the big game and she was raining tries in, doing what she does best. So, yeah, no, great to see her back. And she won't have liked other people scoring tries, will she? She'll want to get her record back up. But, yeah, hugely interesting game. For me, that first 20, Wales has spoken about coming out strong. Ffion spoke about it, didn't she, just a little bit earlier on. But that first 20 minutes, key for Wales to stay in the fight for that first 20 and see where they go. England, we suspect, will be too strong, but it'll be a fabulous occasion. Let's move on then to Scotstoun and a visit of France. I guess Scotland, you're going to fall one way or the other, aren't you, this week? Devastated about the result against Wales, a game you certainly could have won, or you go, right, that is it, this week, bang. And of course, we know all about Rachel Malcolm. She'll be in the latter of that camp. But Yeah, because push comes to shove, that's probably the question, isn't it? Whether they got the fight to take on a mighty French side.
Yeah, and I think we spoke about this kind of pre Six Nations around where they are as a squad, and you think of the toll that they've been under in the last 12 months of qualification and getting moved, and then going through the European qualifier, then going to Dubai. Like, it's such a lot, and these players aren't professional, so they're still working, studying it, playing club rugby. That, emotionally, that's tiring and that's draining, and I think we are seeing an impact of that, all of that together coming into the games. But being the side that they are, especially being under the leadership of Rachel Malcolm, they will take on France with every single inch. Like, they talked about how they felt that their defence was pretty good against Wales. They got a lot of things, improved a lot of things from the week before against England. They got really narrow, really struggled to kind of deal with England's threats in the middle, but also on the edge. And they felt that, they got a lot of things right against Wales. 3 line breaks from Wales equals 3 tries. So I think they know they got a lot right in D, but there's still some areas to work on. But for me, it's probably about their attack. They never really, disrupted England too much. They had the ball for a lot of phases. That one try that they did was excellent, but I think that's where they're going to need to find a different level in order to challenge France and challenge French's defence, because if you go too one-dimensional and don't have a multiple threat around you, which they can have, the likes of Jade Conkle sitting off people's shoulders and Rona Lloyd come looking for the work, that's going to cause France issues. If they just go with kind of playing quite flat and being quite predictable, then France are going to have an absolute field day. But being at home, they've got 2 big games behind them now. Obviously, they had loads of disruption last week against Wales as well. You wonder if Chloe Rowley's fit. You wonder if Hannah Smith is fit. If these players are involved, does that make a difference to the result? It could do. But I think we'll see those guys back in the fold this week, hopefully, with little less disruption. They put last week to bed now. They've moved on. They've had a couple of sessions today, I believe, and now they're back into fully focusing on the weekend.
Yeah, I agree. I thought all coming in at 13 did a reasonable job. But yeah, I'm with you. In terms of selection, I think they have to go for it. And we're looking at that time together, aren't we? You say 3 line breaks for Wales, 3 tries. That intrinsical link between players that you only get when you had time together, and it's an obvious thing, and Wales are beginning to get that. We've spoken about plenty, and as you say, Scotland not there. Certainly, if they've got any chance of getting a W this weekend, they've got to be more accurate. They certainly build-up play is fabulous. 10 visits to 22 against England. Just don't come away with the tries, and that driving ball, which they can rely on against a very heavy French pack. No sides announced at the moment. Obviously Thursday afternoon. For both these Sunday games, but yeah, that they will find that difficult. What do you want to see from France to make what we expect round 5 and the spectacle that everyone's hoping? What do you want to see from France this weekend?
Probably just a little bit more polished. I think their set piece has been good. Certain individuals have been good, but I still don't think we've seen the best from some players. I think Sansus has had some really brilliant moments, but has she had kind of a complete game to her standards? Not quite yet, but even so, she's still knocking on the door to be potential player of the tournament after 2 rounds. Duran, again, another player that I think we're not seeing her in her full potential at the moment. And also they've had a bit of rotation. So we've not seen kind of that full lineup of what they're looking to really do. Maybe they're doing the same sort of strategic plan as England, but just not saying it out loud. But yeah, look, I want to see them move the ball. They're at their best when they're offloading. They're playing flat at the line, a bit like how their men's went this Six Nations. Yeah, I'd love to see more of that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Could not agree more. Go on then. Who's going to win?
France.
France are going to win. Who's going to win? England, Wales. We didn't ask earlier.
England.
Controversial. And the third game, Ireland, Italy. Ireland back at home. tough one to call, isn't it? You've just, I'm not quite sure what that noise was, but you've just made a strange noise.
It's from my mouth.
Right, excellent. Just to clarify, listeners. But yeah, one of those, where, where's this going to go? Who's going to turn up on it? We never ever been on this pod turn up in terms of effort and passion and wanting to do it for the jersey and the country. That's a given for all these female players. We know that, but who's going to turn up in terms of getting the nuts and bolts of their game right?
It's such a hard one to call. Like, I literally don't know what way this is going. I feel like Ireland need a win. They really do. And if they can disrupt Italy's set piece, I mean, they'll be watching that England game and looking at what England did. Italy had no ball to play with, no front foot ball, no attacking ball from their set piece. If Ireland can do that, then Ireland have got such good players within their side to like, they look good in attack at times. Ireland can. The ball retention is really good. You've got some individual players like Eve Higgins, who's having a great tournament so far.
Yeah.
Amy Lee Murphy, so Stacey Flood. You've got all these players that can really make damage, and obviously in the pack as well. You've got new players there, but it's like they're not new and they're 20, 30 caps in because the way that they're playing.
Monaghan, Dugang, the way that those two are going through the middle of teams with offloads. At times, fixtures starts has been exceptional. Yeah,
and I think if they can stifle Italy and not give Italy any momentum, then I think Ireland can beat them. I do think that. And you saw Italy play against France, where there was so many good moments but couldn't finish anything off. And then you saw absolutely no shots fired by them because England just suffocated everything. That they couldn't get into any game. And so if Ireland can do that to them this weekend, then they're definitely in for a shot to beat them. And I really feel like Ireland need a win. They really, really do.
Yeah. I think we go back to that point. It's a point we didn't make actually when we spoke about England, was that we'd just be just as happy with a 0 as happy as they were with the 74 on the other side of the scoreboard. But they totally suffocated Italy. I just think for Italy, their tournament starts now, and I think they juggled selection last week, but for them the tournament starts now. So I don't know whether Jada might be fit. She was talking about, was it the beginning of the tournament, whether she might be involved this weekend or not quite sure. I think she'd make a big difference. Rigoni back at 12 for me was the right decision against England last week. It's a really, really tough one to call. Where are you going to go then, Burf?
I'm going to go Ireland.
I'm going Italy.
Don't tell Jada.
No.
Okay. Don't want to get in her bad books.
She's in Italy, and I'm here, so I'm safe for now. Anyway, only other thing we just wanted to say, and it's a comment that somebody made on through social media. We're a global podcast, and we try and reflect everything around the world. A lot of our listeners are English based. We always try to get on nations we think are appropriate. The previous shows before the Six Nations, 5 out of the 6, we just can't find a French player to come on. Message plenty, I can assure you, to try and come on. I had Jada Frank on as well, and we're at the hands of unions and press officers and that kind of thing as well. And that's not always let me say this politically correctly. It's not the easiest of processes. Dealing with these people. So look, we do try. If you want anyone on the pod, let us know. Who would you like to have on the pod? And some reflection. Anyway, that was just a little side note on the nations. Well, that's about it then, Burf. You're going, let me remember, England, France, Italy.
Ireland.
Apologies. That's what I meant. And I shall go England, France, Italy. Sorry, Doc. Anyway, let's just finish up then, Rachael Burford, with a few shout-outs. Sacha, the French prop. Many, many congratulations on the birth of your daughter, Nina.
And Lana Skeldon, congratulations on your 50th cap. He had an outstanding performance. I think you even scored as well, so huge congratulations to that. And of course, we can't not mention this, Emily Scarrett with her 50th international try. Comes on the pitch, one touch, one try. I think that's all she did in the game.
Yeah, literally first touch. But it was a beauty though, wasn't it? There's a great angle, and I have to say, fair play to the BBC, putting cameras at the right angles. There's a great angle from behind Johnnie House, and she just threw it through. So, yeah, it's felt. I've gone really telly then, haven't I? But yeah, no, a great shot. Fair play to Dave Scout and Lana Scanlon. Again, we talk about Vicky Conrad, a workhorse. The performance hardly ever dips. Lana Scanlon for me is very much in the similar vein. Speaking of people who work hard, Fiona Stockley, or Stockers, as many would know her, has hung up her boot, her pen, her clipboard, her phone, all the rest of it. You name it, for all the roles that she's had at Wasps as an official at the club. Once a Wasp, always a Wasp, of course. But the word legend is overused. She's the lady basically behind the female barbarians. She's a superhuman being and has given a huge amount to the club. Proper LEGEMD. Big shout out to you, Stockers.
Yeah, I'll just echo that. Like, you don't get many individuals that are so devoted to a club for that length amount of time, and to do as many roles as she has done as that club. So I know she'll be sorely missed, and I know they had a good old send off for her last weekend, which looked pretty comical. With, I think they were wearing wigs the same as her hair and had t-shirts made up, and that probably just highlights, you know, the effort that they wanted to go in to make sure she gets a good send off.
Yeah, it says it all, doesn't it? But yeah, she would have enjoyed that. She doesn't. Not a person for a big night out, Stockers. on that really upbeat note, thank you to Ffion Lewis, thank you to Poppy Cleall, thank you Burf, to Bluebell, and to Tom behind the scenes. Thank you for listening. Subscribe, rate, all that jazz as well. We this weekend, Burf, you covering the game?
Yes, I'm going to be at the England-Wales game, so mega excited to feel what the Shed crowd is like. With a record crowd, it looks like, for an England Six Nations women's game.
Yeah, absolutely.